On this week's show, the 6 steps to buy, refurbish, refinance, part 2.
In the news, estate agents are raising concern as house viewers are travelling hundreds of miles to view properties.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
How's your week been?
I'm Russell Leeds.
Oh, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's Property Investors Podcast. My week's been very well, thank you.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Just forget that they don't know who necessarily... I mean, most of them probably do know who we are, but there's might be the odd person that doesn't necessarily know who we are.
Yeah, I get that. So anyway, how's your week been? All good?
My week, a busy week last week, actually. We hosted lots of virtual events here.
We did.
In the studio.
We're in our studio. You guys, you can see around. We're in our studio with a purposely built studio for filming and for sort of running virtual events. And do you know what? Myself and one of our other co-lead trainers, Ricky Mando, have been running an event here for 2 days.
2 weeks, that'd be a long event.
That would be long, but 2 days, and it was really, really good. And we also had the Financial Freedom Blueprint here on Saturday, which was again a really successful, good event. So,
so it's been fun. Do you know what? It's actually a bit amazed at how good virtual events are.
I certainly am. Certainly, I agree with that.
Because I'm a big live event fan, but. I mean, I look forward to going back to proper live events, but in the meantime, I think we're living in a virtual world now, aren't we?
Do you know?
Because we are living in a virtual world, and he is a virtual boy.
I've never heard of that song, but
Material World.
Is it Material World? Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I was speaking to somebody the other day, and one of the interesting statistic that in the last 12 months...
It's better be interesting, this statistic.
Well, in the last 12 months, I don't know how true it is. I've not fact-checked it, so just go with what it is. In the last 12 months...
I'll fact-check it while you're talking.
Since start of COVID,
right.
Okay, since March 2019...
Since March, I'm Googling this, it better be correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Nearly 650,000 people have left London.
Since March 2019 or 2020?
2020. Over nearly 650 people have moved out of London to countryside and to other places within the UK to get out of city life, because a lot of people now are realising that they don't actually have to go to an office to work because of the success of working from home and all that sort of stuff. I actually think a lot of people coming out of COVID are going to just continue.
This article's from April 2020, and 250,000 people left London by then.
Yeah,
that's a month in.
Yeah,
so
I think it's fairly accurate. I don't know yet, but we'll just have to wait and see.
416,000 people.
Okay, well we'll have to wait and see. But I know it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have upshipped and left. And
seems that your stats are pretty accurate.
So what? That's just crazy. Like at the minute, we're seeing house prices selling for way above asking price, and that's why, because you've got all these London people that are selling their London homes or renting them out or moving out of rented accommodation to then buy up north or outside London. And I think it's because the virtual world, like people are realising they don't have to be in central London to run at their office. They can work from home in their office in leafy Buckinghamshire or Hertfordshire or Bedfordshire. So
I'd be very interested. What happens with working from home and all that when we do go back to normal? You know, let's say in the next, 6 to 8 years.
Yeah. When we go back to normal.
You know, when we do go back to...
I hope not. I really hope not.
No, when we do go back to properly normal, I wonder, will companies carry on working from home?
I think so. I think so, because if you just look from a company that's based in London, the cost of running an office in London is ridiculously expensive. And unless they need the staff to be there, why would they pay that sort of money when they can tell them to work from home, perhaps pay them a little bit more money and perhaps cover that side of things, but it cuts their costs down for having expensive offices in London?
From my experience, office space in London, you are looking at around about between £500 and £1,000 per head.
Yeah,
to be in the office.
Yeah,
So it is a lot of money, and that's just for obviously that doesn't include other bills and stuff that you have associated.
And plus, it means if your job is just reliant on you being on a computer all day, you can do that as long as you've got good Wi-Fi, and as long as you can work from home. So why come to the office? But
because do people work from home though?
Well, this is the thing.
I was hearing a
Efficiency.
story by someone the other day. I won't name them, but one of their relatives was working from home.
Yeah.
And the computer is monitoring the mouse.
Oh, okay.
So they literally have just tied the mouse to a piece of string, and they're just sitting there doing other stuff, and every now and again just sort of pulling the mouse around, so that it looks like they're working, but they're not. You know, you wouldn't get away with that in the actual office.
No, you wouldn't. No, and there is programs that can monitor, that can actually mirror your computer screen. So, like, whatever you're looking at on the internet, it can mirror, so your bosses can see it. So, like,
it's lucky they don't monitor yours.
Oh, you got that in there before I got that in there. You knew it was coming, didn't you?
I know you too well.
Okay, so anyway, but I think it's down to management and giving people a bit of responsibility and seeing what happens. Anyway. On to this week's show. So the last week we covered the first 3 steps to buy, refurb, refinance. So just to recap that was being able to find deals, understanding and knowing how to calculate numbers, and then having a good power team in the area. This week we're going to cover the final 3 that we believe that's what you need to put in place to be able to do this strategy well. So I put number 4 as you got to know how you're going to finance it. So how are you going to buy the deal? And typically, to do a buy, refurb, refinance deal, you're going to have to use cash or some sort of lending, but not typically a buy-to-let mortgage, because then it's a bit more difficult to do a refinance or an exit. So bridging typically, or private finance, or a joint venture agreement where you both do 50-50. So it's really about that. How do you go about finding joint ventures? How do you go about raising the finance? So let's talk about a deal that you've done. Give me an example of a deal that you've done and you've raised finance for?
Sure. So I did a deal with someone. They actually brought me the deal, and they said, look, I've got this deal. It's going to need 30 grand for us to buy it.
Yeah.
And we got it with bridging finance.
Cool.
And it's going to need a £30,000 for the refurb.
Right. Okay.
So it's 60 grand that was needed in total, plus the bridging finance to take the rest.
Yeah.
And we just put £30,000 in each. I was the JV partner with them. They had £30,000, couldn't afford to do the deal on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a sort of a classic kind of example.
What was the outcome? Did you flip it? Did you sell it?
We refinanced it, so I got my 30 grand back, and then I own half of it.
Oh, good. Good job. So that's one example. An example I've done is one of the deals I've done. I've had somebody come on board. I know they've got a SAS pension. They can't actually use that SAS pension for anything that builds assets for their business. They have to use it as an investment to get a return on investment in the sense of interest payments. So he approached me actually about working with me, and I'm like, well, okay, I've got the options of bridging finance or development finance, which is going to be like quite expensive as a monthly interest rate, or I've got this guy who's going to offer me £40,000 to do the development. But this guy's a lot cheaper, and it's a win-win for him. He can invest it and get a return on investment, and I can get that money cheaper than I would through development finance.
See, my experience is that normally private investors want to charge more than bridging or investment finance.
Yeah, some of them are a bit greedy.
However, they're also more flexible. Mm-hmm. So with bridging finance, you know, they've got a very low risk appetite, and they'll want you to put in. So I've done JV deals where they've put in 100% of the money. Yeah. I've done the work, and then we've gone 50-50 on the profits. Yeah. Whereas a bridging company wouldn't do that. They want you to put some skin in the game as well.
I tell you something. As a borrower, I want it as cheap as possible, of course. But yeah, you're right about what you're saying when they're a bit more fussy, because I have people message me all the time and ask me if I'll lend them some money. And I had somebody wanted to borrow 15 grand off me to do a refurb. And I'm like, great, yeah, no problem. How long do you need it for? What's it backed by? What's the collateral that's going to secure the loan? And I can lend it to you. And I went back to them. They wanted to borrow this interest-free, by the way. And I'm like, well, no, I'm a businessman. If you want to borrow it, I'll lend it to you. But I want an interest repayment. And I said, I'll lend it to you for 3 months, but I literally want 10% per month. So they were going to have to pay me back. I was going to lend them 15k, and they would give me £1,500 a month in interest.
10% a month.
Yes. I'm like, dude, do you need the money or not? Like, I'll lend it to you. But that's my interest rate.
Outrageously expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm in a position where I've got the money. They haven't got the money.
Yeah.
And that's it. They're getting, mate.
Here's the thing.
You've got to look at both parts of it. What were they getting out of it? They're getting the money straight away, and then that allowed them. They would actually make a lot of money off the back of that finance.
Yeah, that's true.
So the value is uplifted a lot because of my 15 grand.
I have done a deal. I have done a deal. The most expensive.
Get back up off the floor.
The most
Hold on.
That is outrageous.
Bridging is normally 10% a year.
Yeah, well,
Did you know what though, Rick? You say that, but I have paid because I needed cash quick for a deal to complete.
Yeah.
I paid 10% for 3 months. So it was like, and it was they lent me 100 grand.
Yeah.
I paid them back 110.
Yeah.
There's no, with bridging, you've also got normally like a 1 in, 2 out. There was no exit or entry fee for this.
Yeah.
You laugh, right?
He does laugh. I know.
If you were going to borrow 15 grand
Yeah.
on bridging
Yeah.
for 3 months,
It was, yeah.
how much would it actually end up costing you?
Firstly, you wouldn't be able to because it's too low. And if you found somebody to lend you that sort of money, it would cost you several £1,000s.
Yeah, it would.
Because you'd have to pay facility fees, interest, legal fees, documentation fees, admin fees, payment fees to transfer the money.
Hold on, question. You're telling me if you took out bridging for 6 months
Yeah.
at 10% a year...
No, because it was only 3 months.
It's only 3 months.
Alright,
So basically,
3
how much?
months.
So you were wanting.
When
You were
all the
wanting.
admin fees, it still wouldn't be more
You-
than...
No, trust me, mate.
You were
Trust
wanting
me.
back. You gave them 15. You wanted 20 back. 3 months later, pretty much.
15 and I was getting
1.5 a
19
month.
and a half back.
19 and a half back.
Yeah.
If you borrowed 15 grand from a bridging company for 3 months to complete on a
It
deal,
would cost you there or thereabouts.
by the time you've put your entrance fee, your exit fee,
You'd have to pay for a survey, which might be 1,500 quid. Last survey I had done for bridging finance was £1,800. So yeah, you'd have to pay a survey.
they don't accept your survey, do they? They want. So I don't think
it's about a service, mate. You provide that service quickly, and if you want to borrow cash quickly, that's how much it's going to cost you.
And if, at the end of the day, if you need that to complete a deal and you're going to make 50 grand on it on that deal,
it's
you don't
worth
mind
doing it.
paying that 5 grand interest, do you?
Yeah.
I don't think that's. It sounds outrageous, 10% a month.
But it's not.
But when you actually think it through, I don't think it's. You could have worded it more cleverly.
Anyway,
Did he take you up on it?
He declined. But I don't mind.
The thing is,
I'm like, dude, if you don't want it, that's fine. But that's my terms. Like,
the
you
thing
need
is-
me more than I need you. Do you know what I mean?
well, you don't need him at all.
Exactly.
And if you're going to risk 15 grand, you're going to want something for it, aren't you?
And it is a risk because anyway.
Did you have a charge or anything? Was it unsecured?
It was going to be an unsecured basis, but
yeah,
with a
it's-
personal guarantee. But how valid is that personal guarantee? How even getting it back is. It's a risk. I'm a risk taker. I'll do that to make money. So if anyone, yeah.
You're not going to take that risk for a grand, are you?
No, it's ridiculous.
I'm with Al on it. It'll be interesting to know what you guys think though. Was 15 grand for 3 months, wanting 19 and a half back, was Alistair taking the mickey? Or was that fair? I think it was fair.
I think it was fair as well.
Also, he's got to take it.
He hasn't got to take
It's
it.
not like you've bent him over a barrel and got him, you know what I mean?
You have done that before.
What, bent him over a barrel? Oh, have you? Have you?
Keep a lookout. Right, listen,
Do you know
guys.
what I mean, though, yeah?
Okay, JV finance. Listen, you got. How do you go about raising finance through JVs?
Do you know what?
It's all about networks, all about people.
It's also all about whatever you guys agree.
And it is. A JV, guys, starts with that, a blank sheet of paper. So whatever you agree, whatever you want to do, you sit down, you work it out, you say, this is what I'm bringing to the table, this is what I bring to the table, how can we do a deal? There's 2 equities you've got to consider when you're doing JVs, sweat equity and financial equity, okay? If I'm bringing the financial clout, I sure as hell aren't going to be bringing the sweat equity. So that's what you have to bring. So you have to bring something to the table. Nobody's going to just lend you money on the basis that you found a deal on Rightmove and you think it's a great deal. So they're going to give you all of the money and you're going to bring nothing to it. It's not realistic. And remember this. Money comes from people, so it's about building your network and getting out there, telling people what you do, getting educated. Why would people invest in your deal if you won't invest in yourself? So you got to go out there, learn, get educated, know what you're talking about, inspire confidence in the JV partner that you actually know what you're talking about. And if you know what you're talking about, they will then invest with you and they will align with you. That's what I'd say.
Here's the other thing as well, is that it also depends on what circles you're mixing in.
Yeah.
So if you're mixing in like our type of circles, i.e. people that are learning about property, people that know about buyer refurbish finance, HMOs, all those sort of people, they are all quite greedy. Because they kind of know the crack.
Very good point.
So if I'm trying to get a deal out of Ricky, Ricky's not going to want to give me a 5% interest because he's like, well, I could just invest the money myself and get a lot more.
Ricky won't even buy you a coffee at Starbucks without you having to give him the money back.
I know. Whereas if you're speaking to like, say, let's say my kids go to quite a nice school.
Yes.
If I'm speaking to parents at the school who know that I'm a developer, they might think they're then comparing it to if I can give them security, they're more about security.
Of course.
So they want like a first charge or
assets
or assets or whatever backed up. If they can get that, they're comparing it to against the bank.
Yeah.
So you're almost if you're looking for investors, if your goal is to find wealthy investors to give you money, looking in these circles
It's not the way.
You're in the wrong circles because you're after people that want half the deal.
Yeah.
If I'm putting the money in, I want half the deal.
Yeah,
I want half
of
the
course,
profit. Whereas if you're looking to someone like a doctor who's got 150 grand in the bank and they don't know anything about property and they met you at BNI.
Yeah.
They might be happy to give you 8%.
Yeah, of course, because that's what they're used to getting. So I think you just got to be, you got to go out there and find it, and you got to tell people what you're doing. Unfortunately, I see too many people that they give up after they've basically what they do is they spam all the social media sites saying, oh, I've got a JV opportunity, who wants to lend me 30 grand? And then nobody responds, so they just give up, and then they say it doesn't work. The reality is it does work. The reality is if that's you, then it's you that's not working. It's not the system or the method. Joint venture, raising finance absolutely works because there's more money out there than ever before. Like literally ever before. You just need to know how you can tap into it. But that means you have to present a deal to somebody, and you have to be presentable. Like you can't rock up there in your hoodie that's chewing gum and expect to be taken seriously. It's just not going to happen. If you want people to invest in you, you've got to first invest in yourself and make you an investable item, an investable person.
All right, hey guys, quick. Right, let's see if we come up with the same thing. The big key to finding investors. If you have one thing, one feather in your cap, or let's say to speak, to find investors and attract investors, what do you think that the number one thing is?
The number one thing is never ask them directly for money. Because to me that screams desperate.
That's the number. If you had one thing, because like anyone could have that, couldn't they? I mean, like,
well, what is it then?
It's not going to get.
Why don't you just tell me the answer instead of asking? I've told
it's not telling the answer.
I think
it's my opinion.
I think the number one.
I love how angry you get.
I think the number one thing is not ever going, oh please, 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 give me some money.
So not have desperation.
No desperation. I think what you should do is you should position yourself as, hey, I've got this amazing deal. This is what it is. These are the numbers. And ask the question: do you know anybody that has that sort of money to invest that would be interested in the return like that? So you don't actually say, like, hey, do you want to invest? You say, actually, do you know anybody that could invest? Because you're now thinking, well, hello, what about me? And I'm like, no, not you, because you're broke. But like, no, do you know what I mean? Like, don't come with desperation. Don't come with desperation. What is it then? What is it?
I would say the key thing to attract investors is having great deals.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
You need great deals. A lot of people are like, oh, I wish I had investors. Like, where are your deals? Get great deals first. And even like we talk about this a lot, but you want to be able to show them evidence that who's going to give you 100 grand if you've never done a deal yourself?
It's ridiculous.
It's just never going to happen, is it?
Do you know how many people message me all the time, and you get it? I know, like Ricky gets it. We all get it. People coming to us with these land deals. So they've never bought a house, they've never sourced a deal on, or they've done no training, but yet they're coming to us with these land deals worth. Like that's £1 million purchase price. Put 10 houses on there, it's worth £2.5 million, and they come to us saying, "Oh, can you front the money, or can you help me raise the finance?" I'm like, dude, just no, go away, because you haven't even done a 3-bed terrace or whatever. It's like you got to have credibility and you got to have a bit of experience before anyone will take you seriously.
And you've got to work. You work your way up. So you start, which is why we always, you start small.
Yes, start small.
Don't go, start with rent to rent.
Start with rent to rents and buy low rent high. Buy low rent high, mate. Start with a 50 grand house, getting £200-300 a month return, and then reinvest that, and then build your credibility over time. So I think JV financing comes with credibility, comes with time, and presenting yourself in a manner that people will do business with you.
And if that means doing your first couple of deals, giving them away for free, and then showcasing it, then great, do that.
I think so. Okay, number 5. So number 4 was JV finance. Number 5, you got to understand your exits. How are you going to get out of the deal? How are you going to exit it? I think it's really important. So like number 1 is finding deals. Number 2, super important to understand numbers. Number 3, utilize your power team. Number 4, use JV financing to raise finance for the deals. But number 5, and the JV partners will want to know what this is. How do you plan on exiting the deal, or getting yourself out of the bridge or out of the loan, etc., etc.
Now, it could be that you exit really early on and you let your JV partner have the deal and you just take a sourcing fee.
Yeah.
It's like, well, look, here's the deal, blah, blah, blah. Are you interested? You got to put the money in. Oh, look, pay me 10 grand and then it's yours.
Yeah.
And you exit straight away. It could be that you exit by refinancing it and keeping it.
Yeah.
If you want to acquire stock.
So, for instance, if you're going to do bridging finance, there's lenders out there that will do a bridge to let. So what there's, it's a bridge finance with the option at the end of that bridge to move automatically onto a buy-to-let mortgage. So you need to obviously understand all of this sort of stuff before you take the deals on. And what you really need to understand is the costs for the exit. Because when you finalise a bridge, there'll be an exit cost. When you finalise a JV, there might be an exit cost. So you need to understand that. Now, how many exits do you think you should have?
How many exits?
Yeah.
Well,
for a deal, if you're doing a deal, how many exits typically would you be comfortable with?
It depends on the deal. Give me an example, deal. I'll tell you.
Okay, so buy refurb refinance. I'm buying a house for 100 grand. Hopefully, it's going to be worth 300 when it's done. Needs 70 to 80 grand spending on it. How many exits would you be comfortable with as an investor?
Well, I'd have a minimum of 2 straight away. One is to sell it.
So the exit number 1 would be just to flip it, just to sell it for market value.
One would be. I normally would have 3.
Yeah.
So, but although 2 of them are kind of similar. So one would be to sell it. One would be to refinance it and rent it out as a single let.
Yeah.
And one would be to refinance it and rent it out as a high achieving rent, i.e. service accommodation.
I agree with that. So, flipping it, actually when it comes to flipping it, there's 2 exits. So you could flip it for market value, which might take you a little bit longer depending on the current market conditions, or you could flip it, you could work your figures out so you can flip it BMV and you get a very quick sale. I know you get a little bit less money, but it means the money's paid back. You've got to weigh up whether the costs for the monthly interest are worth that additional 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 months wait to sell the property. Again, it depends on the current market conditions. So for instance, if I could sell a property at market value for £200,000 and sell it today, I'd sell it for that. But if it wouldn't sell for, say, 6 months, but if I know if I sell it for 180 today and it would sell straight away, and that 20k, if I'm going to save 20k in costs, and I would do it. I'll take a little bit of a loss depending on the interest rate you're paying for loans, for bridging, etc., etc. So exit 1 would be sell it at market value. Exit 2 would be sell it at a slight BMV offer to get a quick sale. Then exit 3 and 4 would be to refinance and then let it out on standard general rent or up the rent, service accommodation, holiday lets, more creative structures, and get a much higher achieving rent, as you said. So yeah, they're basically the exits.
Do you know what I would say though, when you're putting together your exit plan, because we do a thing. Yeah. Best case, worst case, likely 100%, case, right?
Yeah.
And your worst case when you're doing it, if you're over leveraged and you're borrowing all the money and you're relying on it valuing up at a certain figure. We talked about the figures in more detail last week. But if you're banking on it coming in at a certain figure and it doesn't, what's the worst case? Yeah. If the worst case is then you are screwed, you're going to go bankrupt, you're going to lose your house, you're going to lose or whatever. Then I would at that stage I'd be thinking, okay, the exit of me following through this whole deal is too risky for me. Yeah. I am going to package. I'm going to do a JV where I'm going to make less profit. Yeah. I'll give the risk and reward factor. I'm going to give the risks to someone else, but someone that can risk it for the reward. I can't risk this deal. This deal's too risky for me. It's too big boy for me. Yeah. And I'm just going to take a sourcing fee and see it through. Yeah. So you've got to, because my worry with buy, refurbish, refinance and people doing it is if you get your numbers wrong, it can cost and you owe if you owe the bridging finance the money and you can't get the deal done on time or it doesn't stack up, and
me and Ricky looked at a house last week, and it's on the market for 150k. This was 2 weeks ago. Sorry, on the market for 130, 145. It was on the market for, and we went to view it, and we don't know this for certain, but we think because it was in the middle of a refurb, it looks like somebody taken it on bridging finance and then done one, and it looks like because it's owned by the bank, it's owned by the lender, so we think it's been repossessed, and they probably used bridge to buy it. So the bridge is now trying to get their money back. And the agent told us, said, look, they'll take an offer, and they're looking just to recoup losses. So they'll take an offer. So we were like, all right, well, let's be cheeky here. And funniest thing ever. Ricky was putting an offer in on the phone, and it was on the market for 145. Agent was telling us, look, they're open to offers, but realistically, what would you offer that?
125.
Yeah, it would be 100.
I mean, listen, I would have to go and look at it and see, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you just ballpark, it's going to be around. If you're looking to do a BMV offer with somebody, it's going to be around the £100,000 mark, maybe late 90s.
100,000
to be
really?
cheeky. To
That's
be cheeky.
Very cheeky.
Yeah, to be cheeky, right? So Ricky was on the phone to this guy. Now, one thing I love about Ricky is he's very much. Like, he'll just put it out there and see what happens. And that's what happened. So we were talking to this guy. He told us the backstory. And Ricky said, look, I'm in a position where I can buy cash. So I can pay them back straight away. And he gave all the benefits to his offer. And then he said, but however, my offer would start with something like a 5. Honestly, mate, he offered 50 grand for this house, right? 50 grand, and the
no,
guy.
No, you can pay cash. I can pay cash.
I know,
because I'm going to give you a fiver.
That's what the guy actually said. He goes, what? What? He goes, I didn't hear that right. What? 50 grand? Ricky went, yeah, and they went. That is an absolute disgusting offer. It was so funny.
Is it still available? I might go back in and offer something a bit more sensible.
It is. I've actually got video footage of this where Ricky's offering his guy, and the guy literally had to pick himself up off the phone. I can just imagine him on the phone to Ricky going mute. He goes, here, boys, 50 grand. It was so funny.
If I was him, I'd have gone, I think 500 grand's too much.
Yeah,
you'll get away with a lot less than that.
But the thing is, Ricky coming out from a position of he's not motivated. He's there making an offer.
Is it still available?
It is still available. Yeah.
Show me. After, I'll be very interested.
Well, sure, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Anyway, so my point is, you need to understand your exits and understand end values, and don't overestimate them. Okay. Now, finally, the last point of our 6th point is you need to be creative. You got to be creative. You've got to understand how to structure these deals, how to get creative with regards to maximising the end value, maximising the floor space, maximising how you even find your leads. So you've got to be creative in everything about this strategy. The people that benefit the most from buy, refurbish, refinance are the people that have got the most education, the most training, the biggest mind, and they've got that vision where they can see what they want to do with that property to maximise the value.
The thing is, you say creative, and you're right, you do, but you don't need to be a creative thinker. You just need to know the different things that are available, don't you?
Yeah.
So if you go into it, for example, you could say renting it out as a HMO. It's being creative. It's not creative if you know about HMOs. Renting it out as service. I agree with you, by the way. I'm just saying that for anyone watching this thinking or listening to this thinking, oh no, I'm not very creative. You don't have to be like a genius thinker. It's all been done before. It's just about knowing the different options that are available to you, isn't it, really?
And just being creative with floor plans and maximising floor space, I think, is nowadays people need one of the big sellers in properties at the minute is storage space. Believe it or not, storage space. Maximising use of space in a property to get as much storage space as possible. It adds value to it. It helps people. People will not necessarily. It won't necessarily add financial value, but it will add saleability value. So it'll make it a bit more saleable.
Sometimes it can be annoying though. We've got like 3. Do you know, like shoe coat type cupboards? We've got 3 in our hallway. And it means that I never remember. If I'm looking for a pair of shoes, I'm looking through the one. I'm like, no, go to the next one.
That's a first world problem. That is having 400 pairs of shoes, isn't it? Like,
it is very annoying.
Yeah. All right, so guys, hope you found that useful. That's our 6 steps. If you have, give us a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed it, give us a comment. Let us know, what did you find useful, and if you want to add anything to that, also put it in the comments and let us discuss that in the following weeks. Okay, so it is time for the news. And in the news this week, we've got an article where estate agents, let me just read it for you. Hold on.
Quick refresh. Quick refresh. No one noticed.
Okay, so in the
See
news
ya.
this week, estate agents are raising concern as house hunters are travelling hundreds and hundreds of miles to view properties. So all they're basically complaining about is with the current lockdown rules, people are travelling hundreds of miles to view homes, prompting estate agencies to raise concerns about people being too reckless with regards to lockdown.
What about if that's your patch though? If you've got you had Hull as your patch for ages,
Yeah.
it was hundreds of miles away. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's your patch.
Yeah, so what they're saying here is while the housing markets have been allowed to stay open during the lockdowns, the government has advised for initial viewings to be conducted virtually where possible. Here's a couple of unnamed...
I actually love that rule.
Yeah.
Because you can still view it in real life, but you could look at it on the virtual view and go, oh, actually, it's crap.
Yeah.
I actually think it's great.
Yeah.
It means you can do more. You know,
I'm all for virtual viewings, but obviously I still want to get my feet in the door when I'm actually purchasing. So
yeah, of course you do.
look, I think what it is
what's the issue with driving though?
no, I
If
don't
you're
see
driving
it,
hundreds of miles, you're in a tin car. You're
Yeah.
basically in a big mask.
Yeah.
You know, like a big bubble on your own.
I think what it is they're saying about how people are going in groups to view properties and things like that. But every time I view, and I still view plenty of houses, every time I view houses, you get there, generally the estate agent sort of is all masked up and gloved up, and they open the door, let you in, tell you not to touch anything.
I love it.
I love it because they're not following you
They
around.
don't follow you around.
Yeah, I love
I know,
it.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'd rather go in on my own.
Yeah.
Yep, sure, they step outside. I mean,
Yeah.
don't you hate it when you're there looking and they're there behind you?
Because they're just trying to sell to you. They're just like trying to tell you everything about it. And
Especially when you're with someone and you want to talk to them and
Yeah.
you feel that you can't because the
Yeah.
agent's there. You know, did you notice that? Like, oh no, it's I agree.
I think they're just look. Estate agencies are short-staffed at the minute because obviously people are on furlough and they're limited to how many viewings they can do, and they're just raising the
We
concern.
should do a
but-
show next week on why COVID makes it easier to be a property investor.
Let's
you
do
get your
that.
first viewing from home.
Yeah.
There's so many good. You don't have the estate agent fully.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away. It's next week. Guys, that's going to be next week. So if you want us to talk about why COVID is actually good for estate agents, and sorry, not estate agents. If you want us to talk about why COVID is good as a property
not
investor,
COVID, the lockdown.
okay, fine. If you want to know, okay,
We can't say COVID's good,
Alright,
can
fine.
we?
COVID's
That would be
terrible,
outrage.
terrible, but-
Why COVID is good? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just,
And next week's show, we're going to be discussing why the lockdown, as a result of COVID, is actually not bad, and it's beneficial for the educated investors out there. Okay, so that was the news. I hope you found that useful. To me, it is what it is. Just deal with it. Get over it.
Right, it's our time for the quiz. It is Alistair versus me. Ricky is our quiz master, and Ricky, I'll hand over to you to take it away, my friend.
Alright, in the red corner we have the one and only Mr. Russell Leeds.
Could we add cheering and stuff at that point, and then booing when you go?
In the blue corner we have Alistair.
Yay!
Right. So, question number 1 is...
Who's this for?
This is for Alistair.
Okay.
Question number 1. Samuel has financial freedom challenges on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There is a playlist called the Samuel Leeds Challenges. How many videos are in that playlist?
Oh, that's difficult.
That's really difficult.
because they're broken down into episodes. So I know the first one was 5, the second one was they're all over a week. So I would assume 20. So 21 is the 7 times 3 plus each trailer, and then 4. 28.
No, can I guess? I think it's way less than that. So 28.
Alright, go on,
Can I try and steal it? Are we going to do who's closer for this?
No,
Yeah,
no. It was a right or a wrong answer.
I'll make the rules here.
All right.
Yeah, you're not the quiz master.
Every time we're together, you make the rules, and so this one time I'm going to make the rules.
Go on then.
Who's
All
closest
right, I reckon there's. All right, 27.
to? And you
Yes.
just said it was going to be significantly lower.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
but
but
now
he
it's
wins,
closest
doesn't
to,
he?
isn't it?
There's 7.
Yay! I was closer.
Alright.
go on.
Alright.
Well, if that's the rule for number 1, then I should be able to steal his ones.
I'll give you a chance now.
Go on then.
Alright, Russell. How many Q&A Sunday videos has Samuel done?
Oh man, not as many as you'd think. 'Cause that's quite a new one, isn't it? I am gonna guess he's been doing it for about 6 months, so once a week. 26.
Do you want to have a go, Alistair?
I say 25.
Russell wins!
Yeah! many? How many?
73.
No, there's not. That's so rubbish. There is
73.
not.
2-0. 2-0. Yep, carry on.
Alright, we'll do a question each. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
gonna be
Alistair.
Alistair.
Can I steal this or not?
You can if you get it
Okay,
wrong.
okay.
Okay, on Rightmove, when you search radius, give me the order of the drop-down box of the radius search.
0, quarter of a mile, half a mile, 1 mile, 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, 40 miles.
I'll hand this over to Russell.
Okay. Could you tell us how many there are?
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10, okay. So I think there is 0, quarter, half, 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 25, 50?
You're so close. It goes 15, 20.
20, 40,
No.
30, 40.
Yeah.
Oh, who wins then?
Neither of us, I
No,
suppose.
neither of you.
Okay, so
Neither of
you're leading 2-0 at the minute.
Okay.
Okay, neither of you.
You forgot about 3, didn't you? Yeah.
Alright. When you search London on Rightmove.
This is my question.
Yeah, Russell's
Yeah.
question. You can do it and then hand over to Alice if you don't
Good,
get it.
good.
Yeah.
When you search London on Rightmove and you only put London as a search area with no criteria, how many properties are for sale in London?
It's a good question.
That is a ridiculously hard question. I've got no idea. I can't even begin to have an idea.
If you did have an idea.
If I did have an idea. Oh my goodness, I don't know. 3,000?
3001. I reckon.
We should write it down, shouldn't we? And both give the answers
you
together.
I
should
reckon
do that.
36,472.
Oh, you're close. Much better than Rightmove.
I'm not even sure what London means. Does London just mean the bit in the middle?
Just accept you're going to lose. Okay,
Okay.
what's the number?
48,453.
You heard it here first. That's 2-1. Next question.
Right, next
Last question, isn't it? Last question.
I could
Last-
draw.
Huh?
This is
Could
the
be
last
a draw.
question, isn't
Last
it?
question. Last question.
I'd be devastated if we drew, because I'm winning 3-0 at the moment.
Okay, last
Devastation. Go on.
Last question. Closest to. How many videos does Samuel release on his YouTube channel?
Oh my goodness.
Who's this for?
Closest to. So we're going to have to write it down.
Yeah, write it down because you don't want to do the whole. Oh, he's done 10. Oh, I'm going to say 11 then.
Have you only done 10? I'm surprised. It's done more than that.
Right, okay, so. Oh, I've got it. Yours down.
No.
Can't get, no, get off your phone.
I
Just,
just want to use a calculator.
No cheating.
I'm not going to cheat. You can watch my
All
work.
right,
Exactly. You've
I'll-
already written,
I'll-
haven't you? So he's done.
you porn? What's that you've been watching?
It's a calculator, by the way, guys. So, he's done 1 a day. Oh.
Just put a number down.
500. No, it's more. I
Okay,
don't
he
know.
said 500, I say 372.
Russell gets the point!
How many is it? How many?
913.
Do you know, in my head, I thought it was 700. I thought it was over 700.
913.
Oh, well.
videos.
Okay, Russell wins again. 4-0. 4-0. It's not about losing, you know. I was taught this all my life. It's not about losing. It's about the taking part. So you just remember that in life. It's not about losing, it's about taking part. Okay, it's now time for the questions for this week's show. So, Ricky, what questions have we got? Now, if you need or you want to ask a question, just send me a message on Instagram to Alistair_Cunningham or send Russell a DM to Russell Leeds, and we'll do our best to answer them on the shows every single week. So, we've got 3 questions this week. Ricky, fire
Okay.
away.
So, question from Raw Source Limited. When you are a deal sourcer and you put in an offer with an estate agent, but you have a few days between that offer and selling the deal, how do you get around proof of funds?
Okay, it's a good question. It's one that comes up quite often. Listen, you need to be open and honest with the estate agent and tell them what you're doing. And if you're open and honest with them and they understand that you're finding it, you're doing it from an investor point of view, then that's fine. Other ways are to speak to a.
One way is you're open and honest. Let's talk about the other ways that are not open and honest.
No. I'm not saying you shouldn't be open and honest with them.
I actually don't think you should just be open and honest with them.
Okay, that's your way. So my way is, once you build rapport and relationship with the estate agent and they know what you're doing, as long as you fulfill what you say you're going to do, then they won't have a problem with that. The other way is to speak to a broker and get an agreement in principle for yourself. So you've got that proof as they can use that as proof of funding.
What about if he doesn't have proof of funds?
Then get creative. Who does? So what would you say he needs to do?
What I would say, I mean, listen, this is normally a problem for someone who's starting out and they're in the chicken and the egg situation of, I don't have any investors, I also don't have any deals.
Yeah.
What do I look for first, right? So what I would probably do if I was in your situation is I'd probably find a couple of people who want you to go and find them a deal, right? So let's say I turn around to Alistair and say, Alistair, you're a property investor.
Yeah.
What sort of deals are you looking for?
Yeah.
Right, he's looking for this. Right, if I can go and find you this, and this, are you happy to pay me a sourcing fee of, say, £2,000? Yes, I am. Great. Could you send me over your proof of funds?
Yeah.
And I'll go and find you a deal. So I'd have an investor lined up and then almost do like a bespoke style thing while you're building your investor list.
Yeah.
Is a pretty good way of doing it, because then you're getting the proof of funds from him straight away. The other option is you do a similar thing, but you get your list of investors, so you tell people that you're looking for deals, and then when your deal comes in, you quickly approach. So when they say yes, you've got a few days, as you mentioned before, you need proof of funds. You contact your list and you say, hey, this is the deal. If you're interested, send me over your proof of funds.
Yeah.
Because there's no point giving proof of funds to the agent until you've got a buyer that's ready to go.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Otherwise, if you just show them your proof of funds, but you've got no intention of buying it, you're just moving it further down the line when you're not ready to go. So that's what I would suggest. But I wouldn't suggest telling them you're a deal sourcer. I would just say to them it's going to go in. It's either going to go in my name or one of my partner's names.
Okay, great. Hope that answers your question. Right, Ricky, next question.
Next question is from Joe, and Joe asks, I have £10,000 to invest. Which strategy should I use?
Okay, I personally think £10,000, that's more than I had when I got started. And I started by getting trained, getting educated, and then I done deal sourcing. And then when I was out doing deal sourcing, I capitalised on my knowledge, which then allowed me to do a couple of lease option agreements and a rent-to-rent. That's what I done.
That's the formula, right? You start with deal selling, then move on to rent-to-rents, lease options.
Yeah. Cool, next question.
Next question. This question is from Joanne, and Joanne asks...
Where's Joanne from?
Joanne is from Ipswich.
Oh, cool.
It's Joanne from Ipswich. And Joanne asks, when doing rent-to-rent, when should the break clause be in the contract?
Whatever you agree with the vendor. Whatever you agree. I would do it every 12 months or maybe even 12 months.
I would put an initial one in.
Of
normally
6 months.
3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So that you can pull out. And what you can say to them, because one of the things that some landlords don't like is if you have a clause but they don't. So your way around that is you say, well, look, I'm going to need to spend X amount of money getting this up. So if I pull out after 3 months, I'm going to lose $5,000.
Yeah.
So you can have one as well, but then you're going to have to pay me if you pull out, you've got to pay me my $5,000 back.
Yeah.
So we'll both have one after 3 months. If I pull out, I lose my money. You get your house back. If you pull out, you have to give me. You're the one that loses the money.
Yeah.
And often then they go, oh, happy not to have a break clause then.
Hope that helps. Guys, I hope you found our 6 points to buy, refurbish, refinance useful. Hope you're enjoying the quiz and you're playing along at home. Who's winning?
For me.
Russell's winning 4-0 on this one. Keep a lookout and watch next week.
Would you reckon in a year's time it's going to be like 60-0?
60-0,
yeah. It's going to be Russell's winning 365 to 0.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, guys, hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a share. Ask any questions and we'll do our best to answer them. And we shall see you at the next show, which is coming out on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So thanks, guys, for tuning in and see you next time.
See you guys.